Okay, guys, we're gonna get started. I gotta stand over here. Cameras coming on this guy. Got it. All right, thank you. Thanks everybody for coming today. My name is Jim Mason Brink. I'm the guy who's been spamming you and sending you all the information. I'll make sure you get here safely and where you park and everything. It's one of the things that always worry about parking around here. Talk to this gentleman, he's okay. Just as long as you don't park right behind the alley here. First two spots, the first two rows. Anybody there? Don't be shy if you are.
It's a tow zone.
It's $150 if you are, okay? So I'm just saving you right now. Anybody right behind us? Okay, cool. All right. But you're not following. So this alley behind us. Alley right there. Are you? You're fine. Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You're over there. There's two rows back here that usually one person I would agree with does. Yeah, and it's $155. It's not coming out of my pocket.
I want you to get liable for any parts.
All right. So how many people here, this is their first collider ever? Look at that. Yeah, nice. Cool, awesome. I always, yeah, it's all for Billy right now.
No.
Yeah.
It's managed expectations.
And with that, I want to welcome Billy Grill today. He's a good buddy of mine. And I think you guys already know he's amazing Apex Accelerator consultant. He's a great guy. Some of his partners are here too. Danielle Peterman, sitting right here.
Hi, Danielle.
Yeah.
Cincinnati consult.
He's a Cincinnati consultant, yeah. And Rob Bondurant, aka Bondo, in the back there, he's the Dayton rep. You already know Bondo. Yeah. And so, and also some special guests today. Mr. Jeff Malott, right there, he's the director, the small business director of the Air Force Material Command, and then Mr. Luke Schultz, right back there. He's the director of the Air Force Lifecycle Management Center, Small Business Office. Very great guys. Bill, if you ever have any questions or anything about working with the Air Force, look them up. They will talk to you.
Yeah, they're awesome small business champions through and through.
Yep, most definitely. Today I'm not using the drop mics like I usually do, so I'm using the microphone that's on the Logitech here, and also the spider mic right there. So be careful, you guys. So don't whisper or nothing. So, if you have any questions to Billy, which this is a collaboration type of thing. Okay, so we want questions. We want you to speak out. Just speak up when you ask a question. Okay. So that the virtual audience, because this is live right now, also virtually, so they can hear your questions too.
Hey, Jim.
Yes, sir.
Is it okay for us to link our page to your recording of this?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. For the online virtual folks, please use the Q&A. Do not use the chat, please. It's hard to keep up with the chat. Q&A is much easier to go through. I can handle it a lot easier to relay the questions to Billy. The virtual folks, you cannot talk. Okay, so there's a reason for that.
And I'll repeat the question as well, so that everybody here can hear it. I'll repeat it. We'll take it slow, but definitely don't be afraid to ask. And don't try to wait till the end to ask. I mean, if you have a question and I'm on something, this is a discussion. This is a back and forth. It's an exercise. That's why we don't have any PowerPoint Question.
Are there gonna be slides when we're gonna get them?
There are no slides
There
there.
are no slides I know it's tough to comprehend. No death by PowerPoint.
Yeah,
We're going right
no
into
slides. Thanks for that question, Josh.
your
Yeah, restrooms, if you haven't figured out where they're at, they're on that first hallway over there as you walked in to the left. So, and this is open environment, just, you gotta go, okay, don't worry about it, we're not taking a break, is what I'm saying, right, so. If you need water or snack, it's pay as you go out there, you do take a debit card, we have a thing out there you can use. The drinks are right there, the coffee is on the other side of the stairwell. Okay, behind us here, if you need a coffee. Billy's gonna be so excited, you're not gonna need caffeine.
Let's manage expectations.
One last thing, I don't know if you guys have seen or not, but I have a November 30th collider coming out. I've already sent out the invite. It's mastering the income statement, implementing a robust cost accounting system. So one of the things Billy is going to talk to you about probably, or has already probably talked to you about, is you have to have a approved accounting system to work with the federal government. So that's what this collider on the 30th will be about. So it's probably pretty important for you to come to that if you're working on that. If you don't have a Deltek or Uninet or QuickBooks.
And you can do it without, but you need to use generally accepted accounting practices. That's the important piece of that.
And that is it for my announcements. If anybody's got any questions for me before we get it going. All right, Billy, I'm gonna unshare. And then you'll have to share yours, unless you want to talk just a little overview.
Quick overview. This is really about finding out who's buying what you're selling. I'm going to show you guys how to take that data. It's all public data and make it actionable. So we're going to run through some data. I see a lot of people with laptops here. That's great. We're going to do it together. If I go too fast for you, I just had a coffee, so let me know. Tell me to slow down. Ask questions. There are no stupid questions. I've already asked them all. That's how I got to where I am. So never hesitate. This is really for you guys. But we're going to show you how to pull data from different systems, how to turn that data into actionable information, how to act on that information, and then what the next steps are. This is an A, B, C, D. If you see any gaps, if you have a question from how I got from A to B, let me know. We're going to start from the very beginning. And then we're going to go through the process. This can take many offshoots in the process, but I'm going to give you the general tools. These tools are government tools that are public facing. You cannot break them because they're already halfway broken. But overall, seriously, it's great data, and I'm a data guy. So it's really about understanding it and learning how to act on it. So that's really where we're going to start with square one. So I'll go ahead and share my screen without further ado. And we're going to go right into North American Industrial Classification System codes. Yes, sir.
Is there a password for Wi-Fi so we solve one?
Oh, that's a great question.
There's a piece of
Yes,
paper
there is.
on each table.
So the password is 2nd Street, 2ND, capital STREET.
Hey, Billy,
Yes, sir.
I love Fed Biz Ops. Are you gonna make me love SAM.gov?
Not in your wildest dreams. No, I'm not a magician, Luke. You know, I try my best. I can tell you that we were just briefed on SAM.gov, and they are talking about making more changes to the homepage to let customers find their own path. I am going to show you how to use SAM.gov to the best of your ability. Now, will that ability be the same as those great emails we used to get from FedBizOps? Probably not. But we can definitely kind of live with what we have. I can tell you that FPDS and USASpending, they've done a great job. And that's kind of what should lead you to and through SAM.gov. But it is a necessary evil, Luke, and we aren't getting away from that anytime soon. So really the start is your codes. know your codes, and that goes with your NAICS codes, which are a series of 2, 4, and 6-digit codes. And then there's another code that I like to use called your PSC code. That's a 4-digit code, and that dials you in a little bit more. So for the purpose of today, I am going to assume that I am a small cybersecurity firm. So I'm going to run the codes for that type of entity, but I want you guys to know your codes and we can follow along together. Where we usually start with pulling data is the authoritative data source. Now, this authoritative data source is called Federal Procurement Data System. It's got all of BPAS contracts above $10,000 and modifications that the government gives to its contractors. So really, it's easy to just start searching. I'm a codes guy, but you can start with a keyword as well. I'm going to show you how to do codes and keywords. So I'm a cyber firm. I'm going with 541519. I'm a geek, so I just know automatically that's other computer related systems. So I hit enter there. And what we got is, let me minimize some of the stuff on my screen. We have a total of 1,313,104 contracts. So given that I don't want to look through that many contracts, what you want to do is you want to go to your advanced search. And really what I do is try to get it down to what I call the Goldilocks mix. You don't want 1 million contracts, but you don't want 0 either. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a filter here. And when I add the filter, it gives you a ton of additional filters that you can work through. I know that I have my PSC code handy dandy because I've used my NAICS code and my PSC code tool. So I'm going to type in my PSC code, DJ01. And so that takes my 1 million contract down to a mere 969. Now you can look at all of these advanced codes and you can do everything from the agency code, which is your DODAC. It's always good to know that, but we'll get there soon. You can go on award status, you can go contracting agency name. Chances are from an industry perspective, you're looking at NAICS, PSC, keywords, and you're looking at the fiscal year of contracting. So there's only a couple of codes that you'll probably, or a couple of filters you'll probably use here. The key is to get it down to a manageable amount. 969 is pretty manageable to me. So what I do, I throw it right into CSV. With all of these systems, there is the capability to get it into Excel. So we can slice and dice this data. So what I'm going to do, I pull it down into CSV. Given I wasn't sure about the bandwidth here, I went ahead and I downloaded my CSV last night because I'm very prepared for Jim's colliders here. But overall, this is what it looks like. A bunch of gobbledygook, right? You're still not, oh, sorry, need to do a new share. I knew that was going to get me. I called that was going to be one of the first questions is, can you share your new screen? Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. So this is what it's going to look like when you're downloading into a spreadsheet. This is valuable information here, but you can make it a lot more readable. So what I usually do, I want to take it and throw it into a pivot table. So I'm just going to take this information, just type in pivot table in your search, click OK, and now we have some options here. When I'm looking at these filters in this list, let's see. Get it straightened out here. Sorry, my Zoom is in the way. So basically what I want to do
Do you have a question?
Yeah, you can go ahead. I'm trying to find my.
Where do you find a listing of the PSC codes?
Okay, good question. PSCtool.us is the link. And I'll give a link out. When we're done, I'll send Jim a link and have that, have that resource sheet ready for you guys.
Yeah, I'm making notes about all of them.
Okay. So from here, you're basically going to, I'm trying to get to my. Oh, is the data not selected? I could, yeah, user error is probably, well, I got data selected there. Back to it. It's all about the size of my screen. It's taking away some of the. So we got there, select table range. Yeah, that works there. So then we can choose fields to add to the report. I'll just search. So I can do obligated. Try to run that. Let me see if I can pull up an example for you guys. It doesn't want to let me put this table together. So. If that gives it to me. That's true. Could have tried this on a laptop without my screen with this, so the worksheet. Yeah, hop on up here if you can.
Still, right?
I'll happily pay. So what we're doing. Well, it should be a basic, a select all, and then it should give you the. Data sheet. I could, I guess, pick two of them.
Visibility's busy right now, but just give you guys more information, because I know a lot of you do these sliders. You could also go for the Excel spreadsheet and do a bunch of drop downs, so that's fun too. But what we do at Air Force Lifecycle Management, and our biggest event is Lifecycle Industry Days, which I know some of you have attended. I did a reporting for that where it lists, we have charts for it where it lists all our NAICS codes. So our top NAICS codes for Lifecycle Management Center, then also DODAC, so the Department of Defense Activity Address codes. So that's very useful information. So you can search by base, you can search by top name code, then you can do a search.
Yeah, it's all.
I'm trying to narrow it down, but the other thing we have at SAM.gov is if you search, just do a Google search SAM.gov, they have a business opportunities section. Yeah, Air Force small business. So if you do that search, they have business opportunities there too, where they post expiring contracts. So that's also useful information out there. I'm trying to upload the expiring contracts for Air Force Lifecycle Management. Unfortunately, I have to work through public affairs.
Yeah, but I can.
I'm trying to redevelop our site and make sure for users
By actual.
businesses that are new. I'll take this as Air Force Lifecycle Management Center. And making sure you guys get the necessary information that helps you out so you can search on opportunities.
That's what we're going to do with you.
Well, it's located, it's Air Force Lifecycle Management Center, so we're located right at Patterson Air Force Base, so we cover everything from pretty much operational, from systems to weapons, things like that.
Will you include those links in Billy's blast? Billy's gonna send out a blast.
Yeah, I can, yeah.
That'd be appreciated. I'll put it all in there.
Okay.
You talked about, expiring the contract with actionable information. How can you use that?
You use it to serve, they used to have more information out there, but what it think about is like, contracts get to expire in the next year. Okay, there's probably gonna be a release request for information, or they're working on the acquisition strategy, so you can be aware of, okay, that's probably gonna come up. You know, they're gonna do maybe a source of solid request for information, so then if it's something that I can provide a capability to, it's probably, you know, beneficial for me to fill out information. Not only from a crime standpoint, but you may not be able to do all the work, but from a subcontracting opportunity. Because usually, the perfect way to work in a government contract is usually through subcontracting. So how we work with, I don't need to take over your.
I appreciate the rescue, man. Keep going.
Really, I think the only reason you're having issues is because it's Jim that you're working.
Yeah.
No, I know Jim's. Yeah, Jim's been great and stuff, so, as far as what we do at Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, we're a liaison between the small business industrial base, the program teams at Air Force Life Cycle Management Center, and the small business administration. So one of our biggest jobs is we coordinate the small business coordination forum, which is the DD 2579. So the acquisition strategies, we help out through that. We also did an in-reach, which is like training to government acquisition teams, telling them about small business goals that we have, how fabulous small businesses are, what they do for our industrial base, how they help us out, things like that. And then we also do outreach. Our biggest outreach event for Air Force Life Cycle Management Center is Life Cycle Industry Days, which is at the Dayton Convention Center. We have a small business forums where we have various panels. Last year, we had small business directors talk about small business opportunities, reducing barriers. We had a panel on PO innovation. So you hear about sitters, so small business innovation, research, science, technology, and transfer. We had a panel on that. And then we also had a panel with other than small businesses, there's small business liaison officers, which are looking for small businesses that provide innovative capabilities that will help. Are you good, Billy, or do I need to talk some more?
Yeah, you're going.
I appreciate it. Spend all the time talking.
We're going to go caveman style on this. Technically, I'd say do a pivot table, which are really simple to do. But overall, you can still slice and dice the data. I would go and slice the data probably by the action obligation. That is the obligated money per action. And then what that'll pull up, and that'll resort this spreadsheet into basically a largest to smallest action obligation amount. The pivot table, it actually compiles it for you, so it's a little easier. But really what you're after is this. You're after the contracting office name. Now, what is that? The contracting office name is the office where the obligation was contracted out of. So this is getting you down to who's buying what you're selling, down to the office level, which is a lot more efficient than just saying, hey, the Army might need this, or the Air Force might need this. We want to know that the Air Force LCMC PZI needs this. And that's really where you start getting into building that top 5, that top 10. Is just some basic sorting and filtering these spreadsheets. Another great couple of things about this is it also gives you the competitor UEI and some of the competitor information. So now you know that the competitor in your space is this company, that company, or that company. So you know there's a ton of intel in these spreadsheets. It's really just a matter of slicing and dicing the data and then using it to build that outreach plan. So that's FPDS in a nutshell. Basically, what you're looking at is the authoritative data system for contracts that the government uses. So it's always good to use the data they're using, right? Because you're seeing what they're seeing. But there's one I prefer as well, a little bit better than FPDS. and that's USASpending.gov. Now, while USASpending.gov is not the authoritative data source, it is fed by FPDS, but it's also fed by grants.gov, and it's fed by some other systems that really make it valuable, and the user interface is really great to work with. So you can see, you can look at different agency data, which is really good once you get a top 5. Do some research on the agency. Before you do any outreach, you should have the mission brief, the strategic plan, and some basic information about the agencies you're reaching out to. A, you want to speak their language, but B, you want to ask intelligent questions. That way you're not wasting their time. You're not wasting your own time. So that's a really important part of this. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start with the overall searching of awards. So again, we start here, your criteria on the left. Get comfortable with this. This website doesn't need a login. All of the criteria here pretty much mirrors the criteria in SAM.gov. So, really look at your fiscal, your keywords, the keyword description. It searches, sorry, it's a new share thing again. So basically this is your dashboard in USASpending.gov. The keyword searches the prime name and the basic description of the contract. But again, knowing your codes, I'm going to go right down to search the codes. I picked the last 5 years of data because I want recent and relevant information. Contract data from 2008 won't really do you a lot of good. So you start with that, and then you come down here. These are your NAICS codes. Again, I know my code 541, 519, and that'll give me other computer related systems. These search filters in USASpending.gov, they are also keyword based. So if you think you might not know your code fully, pop a keyword in there, play around with it a little bit. Again, these are all open to the public. You don't need to sign in. It's really about hopping in here and getting comfortable with the tool. Yes.
Is there a way that you can check the agencies that like all of the banks on itself to see like what agency they're going to pay for that product or service?
So you can get some basic information, and I'll do a quick search for you and kind of show you what I mean. If you're talking about product, you can actually go through a different system for products. And we can pull you your Apex Accelerator. We have internal tools that can pull historical data on any product with an NSN, a national stock number. So if you can give us that data, we can do our magic internally, and I can give you the last 3 competitors that won it, the price per piece. We can give you historical trending, so we know who's buying when. You probably won't find a lot of that here, although you can find some of it here. And that's another, the reason they call it a product or service code is because these codes contain product codes as well. But the most efficient way to do that is to get an NSN. And there's some public facing databases like TIBS, the Defense Internet and DLA Internet Bid Board System that house some of that data too. My advice would be on the product side. Definitely reach out to us because we have something called Haystack. We pay buku amounts of money for it, so we like to use it. And we can give you trending patterns. We can give you historical data, the whole 9 on that.
Is that also sorry?
Oh, keep going.
Also with like SDPO and the auto certificate, did you find that as well?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So once I set my my product service code, which will be D301, we can go down here and we can search for just set aside. So I can give you just an 8A. We can give you women owned. We can give you hub zone, SDB, SDBO, SB sole source. You can search your set asides here. What I tend to do when I'm first searching, I will search with 0 set asides, and then I'll narrow it down. So you always start broad with just your codes. Then you can narrow it down by keyword. You can narrow it down by different award amounts. You can narrow it down. If you want to do competitive research, you can just see what recipient has what contracts. You can get a full mock-up of all your competitors this way in government space. As long as it's a government contract or a grant, it will be recorded here. So you can do a ton of intel. If you're a construction-based business or an in-person service company, you can search by county, you can search by city, you can search by congressional district. So you can get really granular with this data. I think the big footstop today is get comfortable with the tool, get in and play around with it and see what it's spitting out. Then when you have questions, let us know and we can help connect some of those data points. For now, I'm just going to run this basic search. So we're at 388 different contracts for just our coded searches with our last 5 years. Now, any one of these contracts you can actually dig into. I can take any one of these. I click on the hyperlink for the contract number, and I can start digging down into each individual contract. So I know the obligated amount versus the outlaid amount. I can give you the actual contract activity in every mod that was made. A really handy piece of info in these is your NAICS code and your product service codes and how they fit. And then we can actually see, are there any subawards? So you can see subcontractors. And you can see who's on the team getting awards. But we can also see down to the agency details. You can see that it goes into the awarding office, which is where we were with FPDS. But this one also gives you the funding office. My advice to my clients is always, you don't have an opportunity until you have a requirement and you have funding. Everybody has a requirement, not everybody has funding. Not many people have funding without a requirement. That's called fallout money. So it's very hard to come by. But you know, overall, you want to know both of those pieces of information. That's really the great thing about USASpending.gov. So yeah, I'll just head back here to the top page. You can also look at who the prime contractor is, and you can down click on that. And this will give you a hint as to who the prime is. This will tell you what their business does, where they are, how their company is trending within the government space, but also something good for the businesses that are just starting up. It tells you their top 5 codes and their top 5 agencies. So if you know a competitor that you are close to, that you mirror, search them up in USASpending.gov and then take a look at their codes. Do their codes match your codes? Take a look at their customers. All is fair in love and war in business. You know, it's something that you can easily say, these people obviously buy what I sell because they're buying it from my competitor. So that's a quick and dirty way, or clean way, whichever you want to think of it, to get some really good intel on who's buying what you're selling, what codes they're buying, and where they're buying it. Then just clicking back. Yeah, this has so much information in the website itself. You can see the contract vehicles they're using. One of my favorite tabs is this category tab. And this is great when you're doing program management reviews as a BD guy, because your bosses all like pretty pictures. And so you can just steal some graphs from these guys, run your data, and then paint the picture, throw it in a slide deck, and your boss is like, wow, okay, you did your homework. When, you know, in reality, pretty basic layout. So here you can quickly tell in the category tab, the sub agencies that are buying what you're selling. So it gets you a little bit deeper, but it also gives you a great map, especially if you're a service-based business and you have to be hands-on. You can start drilling down into the map, and you can drill down again into something as granular as the U.S. congressional district. So you can see exactly where you should be targeting. And then, you know, of course, it gives you all of these great numbers when you roll over them. But you can also see from a time standpoint how is this technology trending? It only gives you a couple years because that's all I picked. But you can go back to 2008 and say, okay, over the course of this whole system, how are these codes being awarded? Is it cyclical, or does it just trend up all the way and down all the way? You can really start pulling some good patterns from the data. But the best thing you can do, again, the top right download tab, download it into Excel. And when you get it into Excel, it will look like a lot more gobbledygook. There's just so much data in these systems, but it's really valuable data. So again, what you want to do, I'd go here to the total obligated amount. I do a quick sort and filter from smallest to or largest to smallest, or run a pivot table. Pivot tables are really nice here. Once you can figure out how to do that. But the other piece of this is going to be column AC and AB. So column AC is going to be your awarding office. And then column AB is actually something really useful that I highly suggest you guys use. It's called a DODAC, or a DoD activity code. Using these codes is a really quick way to drill down into the accounting activity. And it gets you down to the office. So really what you want to do out of this spreadsheet is run your sort and filter, run your consolidation, and come out with a top 5 or a top 10. Right now, that's all you guys need. Don't try to boil the ocean. You can look through the other pieces of information in here. There's a lot of it. For example, you may also want to know your funding office and your funding code. Because for any opportunity, you need funding and a requirement. Really dig into this, but I wouldn't go and spend all day trying to make sense of all the information. The other thing you can get out of this is going to be the recipient. So you can get your top 5 awarding offices, top 10. You can get your top 10 funding offices, and you can get your top 10 prime contractors that are already in the space. So what that gives you 30 different targets to start a conversation with. Now, starting a conversation isn't as easy as just reaching out, right? That's never going cold. That's what Jeff Malott always says, and he's very right. You never go in cold. If you can't get a warm introduction from your local Apex, if you can't get some nuggets from your industry associations like AFCEA, Dayton Defense, EEMG, Society for American Military Engineers, then you want to do your homework. And so we'll show you a little bit about how to do your homework. After I'm done sorting this data and pulling out my top 10, really what I'm after, and I'll just take a couple of these as an example. I'm really after these awarding office codes. And so these office codes are going to make this next part a lot easier. And actually what I'll do, I'll just cut and paste a couple of them to a Word doc. Any questions while I'm kind of doing the administrivia here from anybody? Sure.
You mentioned like the where it's funded.
Mhm.
Figuring out where there's funding, like if there's a source of small opportunity that's out there, will show up in this as a funded opportunity, or will show up as 0.
So it won't show up at all because that's not technically a contract. And this will, so under the micro purchase threshold of $10,000, it qualifies for just a sole source government purchase card. They don't track those. anything over $10,000 that has been obligated, in theory, they should be tracked. So that's really where you want to, and quite honestly, if your target is under that threshold, there's probably other research we would do. That's usually product-based. There's not a lot of services that I know outside of some very basic construction that are under that threshold. So, chances are we probably run you through a different process there. That includes national stock numbers, maybe DLA dibs, maybe some of the purchasing squadrons like 773rd or some others to do some intel there. But for the most part, this will be, and you can, again, you can set those funding limits in your search criteria to really try to hit your sweet spot there. And so I just grabbed three codes really quickly. Again, you share. So once I have my top 5, my top 10, right? That's going to be my targets. I'm going to go into SAM.gov. So we just got done looking at your past searches, and we're going to keep those Excel spreadsheets handy. But really what I want to do pretty quickly is then set up my future searches for future opportunities. Now that I know that who's buying what I'm selling, what I'm going to do is just set up some base searches. So when I'm looking at searches in SAM.gov, we just got done running with that product and service information. So I'll go here and I'll do the same information and run a very quick capability search is what I call it. Capability search will look something like this. So now that I have that search, you can see I already have it down to 4 results. I'm going to sign in. If you don't have a SAM.gov account, you can really easily get one. You just sign into login.gov. And then we can set up our account real quick. Get my 2-factor authentication code. And now that I have my search set up and I'm logged in, I can actually save this search down. And I can save the search down and have it email me anytime that search data is different. Is it the same email that you get from BizOps that's awesome and tells you everything? Not even close. But it is a notification that your search history has changed. And that's really, it's more handy than having to sign into here every day and manage your search. There's another opportunity for you to have your search opportunities emailed to you, and that is with our bid match service that we provide at Apex Accelerators. We're going to put the same exact data into our search criteria, but we search 2,800 different federal, state, local databases. So my advice to you guys, use us as a bid match, then use SAM.gov as a fail-safe. And you can get a little bit more targeted with SAM as well. We can't do set-aside searches. You can do set-aside searches in SAM. The other piece to this is outside of doing your capability search, you should do that DODAX search. So I'll go down here, reset the search.
And the DODAX, that's an easy Google too.
It is. If you have your targets already set, yeah, you can Google your DODAX.
There's a DODAX.
There is, that's a great point. If you have an office you want to get to, you can easily grab, again, it's all public information. So it's really pretty quick and simple Google. Google is your friend here, through and through. So when I have my top 3 targets, and I have their DODAX, I'm just going to quickly pop them in. And with my luck, there's not going to be anything that comes up, which is kind of how the day's going. But overall, that's really where you quickly, and I'll show you, for example. The US Army Corps in Louisville, they have an office that does a lot of work. So instead of trying to just type all that in, I can do W912 QR. And then that gives you that office right there. So instead of trying to search the US Army Corps through this federal organization search, which it only goes down to, I believe the sub agency level, you can get right to the Louisville district office with their DODAC. So it's just a quick and easy way to get through all the noise in SAM.gov. Another thing I would highly suggest is when you are doing your searches in SAM.gov, there's something that they post to SAM that not a lot of people realize. They post industry day events. So if you want to connect with your customer, you can do a quick industry day search. And you can dial this in a little bit more. It's under your special notice tab. And basically what you're doing is just using the industry day keyword. You can see that there's way too many opportunities there. You don't want to go to all those industry day guys. They're not going to be useful. But you can then dial it in with a couple of different codes. So 541, 541, so it's a really quick way to save down some opportunities to connect with the customer by using that special notice tab in SAM.gov. And that would probably be the third search I would save. I'd save one search just based on your NAICS codes and product service codes. I'd save one search based on your target customers. And then I'd save one search based on your industry day search criteria. In this industry day, you can, let's say, just use the Army Corps as an example. You can dial it in by code. My preference is you take your industry day search, you dial it in by code, and that's your third search. So going back to any questions on SAM.gov and saving those searches down?
So how many searches, how many days codes can you put in for a search?
As many as you want. Here's my suggestion. We work with a lot of IT companies and they do basic coding, they do enterprise architecture, they do cybersecurity. I would probably chunk those out into buckets because you're going to have specific opportunities within each. So if you're doing, for example, general contracting, and you're doing electric, you're doing plumbing, and you're doing roofing, you don't want to include all those codes together because you're probably going to have a subject matter expert that is in roofing. You're going to have a subject matter expert that's in plumbing. So that's how I would break that out into those discrete buckets and do it that way. If you ever need help setting up your SAM searches, we help a lot with that. It's really about getting to that mix. Again, you don't want to have 9,000 opportunities, but you don't want to have 0 either. So you want to be somewhere within a manageable space. Yeah.
My question is back to USASpending. I just had a real quick question.
By all means.
I did that comparison where I was trying to look at competitors,
Okay.
and I found one contract going out. So with that information, how do I figure out what department or who actually bought the service?
Okay, so you have the competitor. Well, what is your competitors? Let's do this.
It's Aiden, so they're lead-based post-acute care referral management system.
What is the recipient name?
Aiden,
AID.
Yep, AID.
All right, so we'll search for Aiden. And this is going to search the contract and. Okay, so you got this one contract one out, right? And we just did that. We just searched the recipients thing down here on the left. So what we're going to do. Pop into that award ID. And this is going to give you all that contractual information. So we know it's with the VA, right?
Okay.
We also know that they're running this under 541.519. And they're running it under product service code D, which is telecommunications. It's a $1.4 million contract with $1 million awarded. And they've made, it looks like 4 different modifications. And it looks like the life of the contract is set to end in FY25. So good time to start gearing up to market to the client and look at maybe a recompete. You can tell the agency details right here. That is where you want to be. So when you click down on that, it looks like it's their technology acquisition center in Austin. So the VA is broke up into VISNs, VISNs. We are VISN 10 here in Dayton, and that includes Dayton and a couple of other locations. They will have a different VISN, which is technically a small business location down in Texas. What you can do, what my suggestion is, let's get a kick-butt capability statement together. Let's learn about this project and learn their terminology. The VA also has an Office of Information Technology. They published a strategic plan about modernization efforts. Let's learn that terminology. Let's take that message down to that visit, do that outreach, and see if there may not be other opportunities that look like a duck and walk like a duck. And we can also look at potentially reaching out to contracting on this opportunity. But I would probably start broader than that. I'd probably start with their small business folks. Let them guide us. They're your champion. And then you can also reach out to Aiden. We are all frenemies here. I mean, the pie is to the point where one day you compete, the next day you team. Happens all the time. It's like high school all over again. But it's the nature of the beast. And we can help you do all that. We can grab contact information for Aiden. We can get contact and you can be on that email loop for the visit office and kind of guide and direct you. But you don't want to do anything until you know your stuff. So first thing first, it's called the PAOIT. That's their Office of Internet Technology. They have a modernization plan that's out. I got a copy on my desktop. I'll send it to you. And then you have the actual project and what's coming out of that technology acquisition center. We can look at that. And then we look at some of the mission briefs, if we can get that deep, to the Office of Technology Acquisition. So we're going to do our investigation, and I'll show you how to do some of that. Before we do our outreach, we want to speak their language. We want to ask intelligent questions. We want to know how they operate. There's nothing worse than going into a small business office and asking if they have a forecast that matches your capability statement when they have posted the forecast on their small business webpage. That will completely turn them off. That will get you no email back. So you really want to be prepared here, and that'll be our next step. After we're done setting up our SAM searches, again, capability search, targeted office search, and then an industry day search. Those are the 3 I always go with every time without fail. Once we're done with that, we want to go back and we want to look at that Excel spreadsheet that has given us fits, given me fits anyway, and look at those top five offices. So once we have the top 5 office, there's something called the agency recurring forecast. Those top 5 offices, if you look at, let's get, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to right to the Air Force. So every agency has their expiring contracts. And hold on, I'm remembering to do the new share, guys. I'm just not there yet.
The Air Force does have a published forecast.
No, but you do have expiring contracts, which here's kind of here's how I see it, Jeff.
Better.
So it's half the story, right? You got to start somewhere. And a lot of agencies, that's what they have, Jeff. They have their expiring contracts.
The expiring contract, that's why that's good, and you had asked the question earlier, is because I think you need to look at that from a federal government perspective, is that the government starts buying something, we typically buy it again.
Right.
So the expiring contract listing gives you an idea of what we're buying, and then you want to know when it's expiring, right? So that you can start the marketing effort. So that expiring contract list, can you go back to the Air Force?
Oh, certainly. So this is where you get to it, and we'll send out this link.
And
But
you want to look at that Excel version.
Yep.
Okay? Because that's going to let you sort, and this is good for, and I'm going to tell you, this doesn't have as much data as, because this is being hidden from SAM. So the spreadsheet Billy showed you earlier has more data on it, which is even better, right? And we're gonna, as Luke said, we're gonna start getting more of these out there, more refined, but this is at the Air Force level. And so you can then start searching there. Those drop downs, MAGCOM needs major command. AFMC is here, it was nationwide, but we're headquartered here. When you see the contracting office, Billy, I'm sorry, but there's that FA right here. That's the DODAC, FA 4819. That's the DODAC. That means an advertise. Air Force will always have FA.
yeah. Army is W, Navy is N.
So basically, that's what's telling you. Again, that's all Googleable. If you got in here and you go, I don't have no idea what 32 cons is, PKP, oh, just Google that, and you'll find out where 3325 cons. Cons means contractor squadron.
And Jeff's exactly right. When you go into the expiring contract, see the DODAC is the first 5 letters of the contract number.
And then get rid of that real quick. And then individual PIID means the individual procurement instrument ID. That means the contract. Excuse me. Yes, PIID means the procurement instrument ID. So in column D there, that's the contract number. And then you've got and that will tell you what you can Google that and find stuff about that. That's fun. Over there on H, giving you what the business size is. And you can sort that. Why that's good is, and don't be afraid if it's been a large business before, because basically you can put yourself in there and they could do a sales site if they don't know actually.
Very No, by all means, Jeff, this is great. And you can also reach out to the large prime. Which is so. I think you got a question, Jeff.
Yeah, so under, I agree, so we wouldn't be that legislative contract.
Yeah, you can, there are ways to see a contract. And I would just Google that, those numbers will mean something, okay, so. Are you guys gonna get that?
No,
No.
Okay, because I just showed up today. I'm crashing this party. Okay.
I'll make sure you get on camera now.
Yeah, okay. Let's take this one for an example. Could you then go search the AFMC? I always like talking about it.
Yeah, I got you covered.
These are all the commands, right, in the Air Force. And
So just.
but I could, Air Force Material Command is headquartered here, right, Pat? Composed of 6 centers, we're huge, right? And Luke here represents one of those centers, AFLCC, Air Force Lifecycle Management. Okay, so the contracting office right here, there's that DODAC again. Air Force Test Center, PZIO, you see those PZs? That's a contracting organization. But anyway, so we're going to look at this PIAD because you asked the question. There's the DODAC, the first 6, that's a contract number. I'll tell you how contract numbers work. That's the first 6 is the address. The second 2 numbers, that's the year. So that was awarded in FY20, government fiscal year 20. F is the type of instrument it is. It could be a C-type contract, a D-type contract, F-type contract. And you can Google that. I think an F is an order. I haven't been doing it beyond. I've been on staff, so I can't remember what the F means. I didn't know it myself. 003 just means that's the contract, that 4 is the number. It's like probably for that office was the 3rd contract awarded that year. Okay. Okay, so then, so that's how you can scroll on down, just so I can see something else down here that we do. There are a lot of.
Are you looking for a C-type?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna show a different contract type. Okay, so there's a C-type contract right there. Okay, C-type contract is is an individual contract. Okay, and it's awarded to a particular firm. When you see a D there, it's going to be a delivery order contract, meaning that that contract has been issued and then orders are going to be issued under it, right? So that a D type is when you see like, oh, it's been awarded, it has a $25 million ceiling on it, but then orders, but there's no money there initially, maybe just a couple $1,000. It's an initial order. And then future orders is where the work is placed. But on a C, the work is then put on contract typically with modifications to that, or it's just all on this basic contract.
Is that the same as a blanket purchase agreement?
No, that's a different type of weird. Okay, so then go on and then I looked up.
Where do you need to?
Go all the way to the top. I want to get to the top. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we know now that when you're looking at these, and when you see, because it's pulling from SAM, so when you're looking at what Billy's showing, the PII, it's on there. We saw it, right? That means the contract number. That's when it's signed. That's when it ends. It's telling you there the last date of the order, because if it's typically a contract that allows ordering, meaning like a D type contract. The contract the ordering period typically ends before the contract, so it allows the orders to complete before the contract is over. So it's giving you that business size name code. And so is there anything else out there? Because they've reduced that. We're going to get out there something more expanded on. Okay. Then extend competed. So there's a bunch of words right there. Full and open competition after exclusion of sources. What does that mean? Anybody have any idea? It means a small business set aside is what that means. I mean, it's government, we don't say small business set aside, we say full and open competition after the exclusion of sources. So that means that was computed amongst small businesses. That's what that means. And then next one, the type of set aside means it was a total small business set aside. And then it'll give you the contract number, move on over.
There's
There's a little more. Okay, that's it. Okay, so they cut it out. We're gonna get more out, but that'll give you the contract. So each of those, and then when Billy was giving you that big spreadsheet, again, you can Google what those column titles are if you don't know what they mean. You know what I mean? We know in government just because we know the code, right?
I can tell you exactly which columns. Just go to AC or AB. That'll be your reward.
So this is very important because then that's gonna tell you who you gotta start marketing to. So if that was bought, I mean, AFTC, I'm gonna tell you, that's probably either at Edwards Air Force Base in the desert Southern California, in Florida at Eglin on the Panhandle, or in Tennessee at Arnold at the Twin Towers. Because I know where AFTC operates, or maybe in New Mexico, but that will tell you what that office is.
Jeff, or Billy, when we're looking at these contracts in history, is there a way to identify whether the awardee, I mean, the contract was awarded and how well it performed against set asides? Not all awards are gonna, you follow what I'm asking? So
Are you asking if it's, so. Are you asking if the office is meeting their small business goal?
yeah, is if the office, the contract officer or that, because I want to market to those that are, this is a reality, right? They're not all driving to comply with the set asides.
That's a great point, Bill. Okay, so Bill's question. How do we prioritize this list based on small business goal? This is directly to Jeff Stark because he's in charge of small business. So I can get you close. There are different reports in SAM.gov. So when we're talking about SAM.gov, I'm doing a share here. SAM.gov has a full reporting capability. Now, I wasn't going to get into it too deep today, but you can actually build ad hoc reports at SAM.gov using part of FPDS data. It's a neat tool to have. I think it's probably the advanced course that comes up next. But there is some basic standard reports there, Bill. We call them static reports. So we just want a quick list of the available static reports. And your small business goaling report is going to be right in this list. So you can pull your small business goaling report from 2005 all the way through 2022. What this report covers, it will not get you as granular as the office. But it will get you deep enough to where you can probably prioritize your targets based on hitting those numbers or not. And it does go granular enough to know whether it's a woman-owned small business goal, VOSB, SD, VOSB goal, 8A set-aside goal, a hub zone goal. They do get granular. So, just a quick example. You can get down to VA, DOD, health. We also have some internal reports, Bill, that we can get you a little bit deeper on. But really it's going to be kind of using the overarching organization and using that as the bellwether.
Yeah, not that I want to lead with, hey, you're not meeting your small business goals, but I want to lead with, I'm a services SDVOSB versus I'm going to lead with my LOE first, right?
I want to lead with your capability and how it provides value to their mission and vision. And then you, by the way, I'm a service disabled veteran.
Okay, thank you.
That should be a part of the message. It should be the message.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And I think you'll have, because if you think, here's the VA, right? They're a veterans first organization. So you think they say they're a veterans first organization. You come in as a VOSB, SD, VOSB, you would think, and it's right, they do give veterans first look. But you know what they're really weak on? They're weak on woman-owned 8A. Why? Because all the veterans are going there because it's the VA. So, you want to look at that goaling and say, yes, this could be a conversation, but you want to know the VA buys what you sell, and you want to know you got a value prop first. I can't go in and say I'm a woman-owned small business that sells sledgehammers. It's probably not going to work. But if you do your homework and you can use this report to prioritize the targets you already pulled out of USASpending or FPDS. That's a great point, Bill. And then it goes into doing your homework into their expiring contracts, which a lot of agencies call their forecast, but it's really half the picture. But then, quite honestly, Bill, it comes down to some basic investigation as well. I'll give you an example. It takes us back to USASpending, kind of where full circle now. When we explore the data, this has 107 different federal agencies. Let me get back to agencies. And so if I am looking at the VA, we can go here and we can start looking at their profile. You can get their budget justification. Again, it's not just about the requirement, but about the funding, follow the money. And this will also tell you where their priorities are. But then, for example, with Ash's opportunity, if you know you're in the VA Office of Information Technology, Google's your friend. Veterans, if I could type. And then you have the electronic health record modernization. You have fact sheets for that. You can also go something like veteran OIT office.
Yeah, F means task orders, delivery orders. That's right.
That was bugging you, Jeff.
Yeah. I had to, I haven't been doing the actual contracts in a long time, so I couldn't remember what that meant.
I won't hold it against you. These guys might hold it against you.
But
I won't.
can I just share real quick since there's a site out there, it's called FAI.gov. And in the site was, why does my contract number go there? And they have a great thing that just shows how contract numbers are. That's in the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulations. This is an easy. I just found this. It's easy to look and just.
FAI.gov. They have a lot of different resources on FAI.gov, actually. It's a great site. Can you add that to the resource?
I did. I just typed it in.
It has a nice visual to explain to you what a contract number means.
And that'll actually help you parse through a lot of that data pretty quick. Again, pivot table, sort and filter, use your tools, slice and dice. But that gives you just another avenue of knowledge that can be pretty helpful as you try to dig through and make sense of this stuff. And then when you get to the actual crux of it, like who's buying what I'm selling, it really comes down to using your resources like acquisition.gov. Google is your friend. The number one point of information that I always send my folks to is going to be their small business website. So if you know that Air Force is your target, you can even go into, what does your website look like, Jeff? So here's Jeff's website. There's his mission, there's his vision, there's his workflow email. That's another thing. I'm going to show you guys a small business directory here in a minute that will get you to the point of contact. But go to their small business website first. If they have a workflow email, use their workflow email, because that is the most efficient way that they can route you through their organization. Jeff has a million cats and dogs under him, 6 major organizations under him. So he's going to want somebody to route that email. So use your workflow emails. But then he has all of his centers. He's got his overall news slide.
And there's just news, yeah.
But then he's also got a way to locate all the specialists. A couple other things that he's got, a P-tax source, which is us, that he's going to update after this.
The update is.
But he's got a lot of different information here that it's just great for a small business to have. And then, if you can't find information on Jeff's office, like his org chart, mission brief, strategy, which it's all Googleable, then you can either reach out to Apex Accelerator, or you can ask that workflow email a question of, can you share your strategy and your mission brief with us? Because we'd like to know more about your organization. You came up in a research. And so what does that do? Well, that starts a conversation. You'll be very much appreciative that you asked for that information before leading in with a pitch. So don't go in cold, don't go in with a pitch, do your homework. Is really what it comes down to. And that's why I say, pick your top 5 out of that spreadsheet. Don't try to boil the ocean, because there's a lot of work that goes in before you do the outreach. After we've done all of that work, right? We've got the mission brief, we've got the org chart, we know their strategy, and we've got our top 5 offices. Well, that's when we're ready. We can go, after we've gone to their small business webpage, and we know that they don't have a workflow email. That's when we go here to, and this is, it's a great resource. We are not in any way affiliated with the GovCon Chamber, but they do have a really handy small business directory. And this is really handy. He updates it about once every 6 months. Put in your name and your email. He's not too spammy. Neil McDonald's his name. But I'll show you an example of a small business directory that I have. Okay, so the reason why you want to do your research into the office, you want to do your research into their small business website, and you want to do research into the granular level of who's buying what you're selling, is because once you have a resource like this, like your small business directory, you can't just shotgun emails here. There's way too much. There's way too much content. But this is a really handy way to see the contacts in the different small business organizations that you're targeting. Again, can't stress it enough. Don't come to this resource until you've done your homework and you've been to their small business webpage. Because if you go and you email a contact here when they have a workflow on their webpage, you might start annoying people. And again, never go in cold. But this is an asset when you're not just looking at your overall, you can see that you have Air Force Materiel Command right here.
Go to page 28. Let's see what the compare is there.
Good. Let's do a little sanity check, Jeff. You got a lot under you. So these are all of your specialists, Jeff, and you'll see though that a lot of it is through the workflow. Whenever I see a workflow, I always defer to it. Now, not everybody knows that. That's why I'm here telling them these things, Jeff. Because you can see that all of this data is public. Sarah Bell, she's public. Denise Baylor is
She's retired.
retired. Yeah. So this is July's copy.
It's a start.
This is July's copy. They have updated it to November. I just haven't grabbed it yet. But you can see why you want to be granular, because there's no way that you're just picking one of these out of the box.
I will tell you, if you email these folks and they're no longer a small business, they once you're over.
They would, they're very helpful. But it's so much to get through. So you want to know exactly where you're going. Like Arnold Air Force Base, Air Force Base.
There. I didn't know this was on. It isn't entirely accurate, but it's very close.
I'm showing you how the sausage is made here.
Yeah.
If you're getting some industry insights. Well, it's all public data, right? And this is a great asset. Now, you're not always going to get pinpointed exactly where you need to be. But I can tell you that it's a good resource when you've exhausted other resources. And then the other piece of this, which is actually the more difficult part of this process. Remember how I said, get your top 10 primes as well? Well, in this directory, there's actually a listing of, Ashley, here's all your VA systems. So if we need to get to Vision down in Alston, we can get there. But you can actually get to the, that is their listing of small business liaison officers. And we'll just pick one. Let's see, Ball Aerospace, that's always fun. So you can get directly to their current SPLOs. Again, don't go in cold. Know that you have a value prop for Ball. That is the important piece here. Go in with knowledge and do your research. And we're happy to help you at Apex. We want to help you guys help yourselves. Oh, sorry, I see somebody has their hand raised. Yes, go ahead. Oh, they can't speak.
Nope, I can't.
All right, well, let me take a break and start digging into the Q&A. Jim told me about 20 minutes ago, it was building up. So. Okay, so Lisa Baker, for new companies that offer services in high demand, how can contracts be successfully obtained? Would my best way to get a contract be as a subcontractor? Well, so it depends. I always say that you should be looking at possibilities for subcontracting, which means targeting those primes. But you may also want to look at smaller opportunities. Opportunities under the SAT, the Simplified Acquisition Threshold. These often are highly competitive, but small businesses have a better time competing. If your biggest contract is in the commercial space for $30,000, you're not going to compete on a military contract for $3 million. You want to have recent and relevant past performance. So whatever that past performance you have should be dictating your targets here. Past success predicts future success. So if I'm successful with a $500,000 project, I always tell my clients, you want to narrow down your search. Do you think you do too much? Can you do flooring, plumbing, heating, everything? Take the last 3 years of business. Take your top 5 contracts out of that last 3 years. That's what you use for this search, because that is your recent and relevant past performance, which means it's recent and relevant in size, scope, and complexity. That's the easy way to narrow down your search. What have you done recent and relevant? And that will predict what you want to search for here, because that's what you're going to be most competitive in. That's my guidance there. I'm using USASpending to research primes working on NAICS 6114, having trouble slicing the data to reflect simulations work. Can you recommend a better way? Yes, so Michelle, partially that's my fault for messing up the screen resolution here on my end. I would suggest a pivot table when you really want to get through the data quickly. If you're using 6114 NAICS, that may be too broad. You may want to look at your PSCs, your product service codes. They will get you more dialed in with 6114. If you want to run an exercise, if you still can't get it after this, then I am more than happy. I will put my email in the chat for you guys. Email me, and if I can't get you to the right resource, we can run a quick exercise, or I'll run it for you and I'll send you the link so that you can get there. I'm more than happy to. I'm a recovering data analyst. It'll never go away. I'll always be somehow connecting to this data. Bill, you mentioned looking for subcontracting opportunities. Can you speak to how the spreadsheet information can be used? Yes. If you run your spreadsheet and you do a sort from largest to smallest, or even a pivot table there, you will come up with the recipient names. And there's going to be a lot of them, but you can sort them from largest to smallest. Then what you do from there, if they are not in that small business directory, you can do a couple of different things. You can look for a contact on Google or LinkedIn. LinkedIn's your friend here. If you know that you want to get to the BD guy with Accenture in the Southeast region, use your resources. That's why they're there. I wouldn't connect and pitch them, but at least you know who he is, and you can try to network yourself in, whether it's through an organization like AFCEA, Society for American Military Engineers, whether it's through one of your Apex Accelerator counselors, whether it's through a buddy you had in college. There are ways to go in warm. If you absolutely have to go in cold, go in knowledgeable and know that they're looking for what you have, or else you're just kind of wasting people's time. So this is all part of that business development and sales approach. So when you have to, you can do it that way. We do have internal tools here that can get you company profiles that have some contact info available. Again, I won't give that to you until you have an absolute need, because I don't want to just give you contact info for you to shotgun your approach. I want to know that you've researched it. Yeah. Next question, does this USASpending search provide the contracting instrument used in the buy? I'm not sure what you mean by contracting instrument. It will give you the small business set aside or not small business set aside. It will give you the contract number, and even if it's an IDIQ, it will give you that contract. It's really about looking at the data. I'm using some of what Jeff talked about on contract numbers. You can quickly see if it's an FRC, and that should be able to help you in that pursuit.
Typically, when someone uses the term contract, it's when it means the actual, is it a contract?
And that's
Assuming that's what they mean in that question. So what was the question?
let's see.
I'm killing the ones that you've answered, so.
Does USASpending search provide the contracting instrument used in the buy? Used in the buy. So
That would be the actual, I think they're asking, how do they get to the actual contract order? So can you in USASpending get to the actual?
you can get that granular. Yeah, you can get down to every modification made. And that's why I like using those pivot tables that I couldn't use today, because it quickly rolls that up into obligated amount and outlay amount. So you can see, a lot of times, and the Dayton Business Journal does this, $998 million contract awarded to small business in Dayton. Well, they got the hunting license. They didn't get $998 million, or else we'd all be hanging out in Rolls Royces, wearing Rolexes right now. But USASpending will tell you that, hey, they only got the 15,000 up front. And another cool thing about USASpending, you can click through to each of those and get that visual representation. So again, if you are digging, it's not the authoritative data source, but it does have a better user interface than FPDS. Nothing against FPDS. I've used it for half my life, but USASpending, it does have some of those visuals that are helpful. So that's that. After figuring who is buying our product, what advantage will we get by reaching out to them? Wouldn't all opportunities be listed on SAM.gov anyway? No. Yes, anything over $25,000 is listed, technically listed on SAM.gov. But even if it is listed on SAM.gov, We are guided by federal acquisition regulation. Make no bones about it, we're a relationship-based business. You want to market yourself to the customer, even if it is posted on SAM, you want to get in front of the acquisition. If the first time you're seeing an opportunity is during the RFP phase, your P of win has gone to zero almost because you've had your competitors in there since day one. You want to get in pre-RFI. If you can answer an RFI with a team already built, well, then the contracting office, in the program office, they know you're serious and that you're on top of it. You've gained trust. You've built a rapport that way. So that's really my advice. You do 3 approaches to marketing. Yes, you want to know what's out there to bid or win. That's a given. But you also want to build your own organic opportunities by developing those relationships with the primes, with the awarding offices, with the funding offices. And then the third one is networking and teaming, coming to events like this and colliding with other small businesses that offer complementary services, going to the FCA luncheons, going to the SAM luncheons. There's 3 full-time jobs. I'm sorry, guys, you're a small business, you're wearing many hats. I had to do it when I was in industry. So that's why I'm here trying to help you do it efficiently. And this stuff works. And if it didn't work, then I wouldn't be where I am trying to help you with these processes. It's not successful 100% of the time, just because nothing is. There's nothing foolproof. They will always build a better fool. I'm usually that fool, so you don't have to be. And that's really where we want to help you guys work through this stuff efficiently. Sometimes cybersecurity trading is hard to find in the general NAICS 541519 code for small biz. Any suggestions? Yes, just being a kind of a code jockey myself. So 541519 is a great NAICS code. For your cybersecurity codes themselves, go to your product service code. You will be DJ10 or DJ01. That's your cyber code. You can also go to D310. That is your telecommunications cyber. And if you still need to put another code on there, all of your U's, U001 through U010 are all of your training codes. So every code they have a convention. It's like a naming convention. So your NAICS codes, your first 2 numbers are your industry verticals. So manufacturing, IT, medical, construction. Those are your first 2. Your next 2 are the next step of vertical. So it gets you a little more granular. Your 6-letter code is the full granularity of NAICS. NAICS by general is general. They're run by the Census Bureau. That's a way to quickly categorize these businesses. Product service codes run through a lot of that same convention, just using one letter and 3 numbers. Again, the easiest way is go to your Census NAICS website and go to psctool.us and start searching them. When in doubt, reach out to your local Apex Accelerator because we can help you with those codes. We can help you with some of those keywords as well. I think that's it for online. Anybody in the room have anything? Yes, John.
How, once you've done your homework, you've learned everything you can learn about the opportunity or the department or the agency that you're trying to get in with. How's the decision made on what happens when the door closes and all the proposals have been sent and arrived and now they're being reviewed? How do you get from there? How does the process get from there to the selection? What happens inside that room or inside those?
Jeff, do you want to cover proposal selection committee?
Okay, well, it depends. Okay.
Well, that, where we've been using it is.
Right, because it depends. Okay, so when proposals are submitted, there's various methodologies we can use to select the awardee. Okay. I'm sure, maybe, it used to be, it was predominantly through sealed bids, right? We have a bid opening page. And, they come in, open the bids, and go with the lowest price, and then the requirements got the award, and you do right then, right?
How many
That's
people
called
decide that? How many?
Well, it
people decide?
depends, it depends, I mean, because if you're talking about that you're buying, let's say, a basic service or a commodity item, it could be just the contracting officer looking at it, it's, a certain dollar value relatively low, maybe just looking at it, going, okay, everybody bid to this, that they're gonna deliver this part number, and this one is the lowest price and meet the requirements, I award to them. Okay,
What about when it's like a computer engineering?
oh, we typically buy that, so that would be called that professional services, right? And so we would then, depending right now, we have different methodologies of buying that. I don't want that, that can get very complex, but there would be a team composed of probably the requirement owner, the person that's actually going to be using the person that your people or team that you're referring to, the contracting community, and various other what we call functionals within the acquisition construct would be making that decision. We're going to do, I'm pointing at Luke here because basically, Airport Life Technology Center, a lot of the acquisitions for all of our systems, aircraft and systems, and also for our professional services. So basically, we're going to have a series of colliders this year on the acquisition process.
Is this the point, however, at which the personal relationship can be an attribute to a particular?
No, I'm going to say where the personal relationship is going to be helpful to you is in that requirement definition and in those requirement posts and what the process we call market research that leads up to the identification of the market and the small businesses in the market. And then let's say, I think Bill next to you had the question about an SDBOSB. Basically, in that, if you're popping up in that market research, right? And let's say you're doing CE work and CE knows of you, and that you're, and I mean CE civil engineering, they know that they have confidence that your ability to do that work, they may be more willing to go with a SDBOSB set aside in that regard, and remember, we're always looking at competitive set asides first. Two or more, we're going to do a competitive set aside, not a direct report. But our source selection process, can I tell you, the real answer is well defined in the federal acquisition regulation. Part 15 is when we are buying predominantly what we buy within material command, but there's also part of which USA for orders, ICGSA. That's well defined in how we do that. It's very structured. Okay?
So then,
we definitely,
How
our
does the-
processes are set up to ensure that personal relationships do not impact board decisions. Okay.
well, then how do they benefit you, let's say? Once the door is closed, so to speak, and the personal relationships are not allowed to be a part of the small business.
Well, it benefits you because you knew of that, you were involved in that, in market research and the definition of that requirement, so that they know of your capability, and have potentially when there goes out what we call information, they're asking them for your capabilities, and it does influence how the requirement is written.
Billy says when you see it on SAM.gov, that's the first time you see the RFI or the RFP. You're not going to get it.
RFP, European windows drop.
You're not going to get it.
Well, okay, but the RFI is request for information is generally much earlier. That's where you're going, and you're out there. I'm making this super simple. Because you're out there going, who's out there that does this, and here's some questions we'd like to be answered. If we get enough small businesses, is that we get enough, small businesses or particular types of small businesses, we may do a set aside. Again, but they're evaluating, you submit a capability statement by saying, okay, I'm going to give you an example where you were, I don't like saying professional relationship. I want to say professional relationship. It's beneficial.
Or strategic partnership.
Yes, we basically, when you come in with your capability statement on sources side, and they are familiar on the requirements side with your firm and your capability, they're gonna say, yeah, when I read that, yeah, it makes sense, because I know they do that. You know what I mean? I've met them before, I know their work. You know what I mean? And so that's where it helps. Once those proposals are in our system and set up, that personal relationships do not impact the work professional relationships. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get the instruction all, they'll get your evaluation for things like that, but really, I mean, from our standpoint, you want to build a relationship as early as you can in the process. So depending upon the acquisition, I mean, if you have something that's going to say it'll be a subcontractor for, you're looking for subcontractors way early in the process. So something like that, having a effective relationship, a strategic partnership would be very beneficial, because they're looking for the small businesses that are able to perform, that they put together a team that they think is going to be the most highly qualified team that will help them.
So, guess what I'm hearing here is that you have to influence this RFP early on, they potentially have a document.
Correct.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I'd say generally, yes, but it's just, we're buying supplies, then, we're buying something off the shelf. We're not sure, and I mean, but, it's like not gonna be, 200 whatever's, and, there's multiple, there's people out there called small balls, that are like, so, right? So we're saying I'm making a number because I would buy something Cisco products. And we're going out there for the licensed resellers, right? So there's many small businesses in that space. And so basically, as long as you're a licensed reseller of maybe that Cisco product, then you can, so you can participate in that. So it depends, right?
It does depend, because we may have a mandatory vehicle to get into. So, I mean, influence acquisition is early in the process. We're looking at market research, requests for information. We're trying to see everything that's out there. So by you submitting your information for that request for information source aside, we pull together our market research, depending upon the number of companies that are out there, from, set it aside for small business, then we want to further set it aside for socioeconomic category. It could be one-owned small business. I mean, there's a lot of factors of it, but by providing that information, what you're giving us, we're always kind of checking out the environment that we're in. Okay, what's out there? Who can perform this? What's innovative? So we'll take that market research and then kind of craft our acquisition strategy. And then normally what we do, they're talking about RFPs, we usually put out a draft RFP too, where you can influence, say, you can bring in questions there that's being impacted the requirement.
I was gonna say mobility is. To me, if you're going to be successful, and you've got that top 10 or top 5 and find what you're selling, you're not waiting until they're saying, I'm going to buy something. You're trying to connect with them and start just like you do any other potential customer, right? You're out there going, if I'm in construction, I'm wanting to see on the base I want to do work on, that's who I am. Even if, so that when they do have a requirement, I'm popping in their head. You know what I mean? So that's what, Billy, isn't that what you're really saying there? It's like,
Well, right, I mean, you're marketing yourself, so you're an own entity.
Yeah.
But also, you know, when you are talking, when they're soliciting feedback from industry. Maybe they're soliciting feedback about some requirements as well, from a service standpoint. I mean, from a product standpoint, you got product specs are product specs. But then you also work your way into the primes that are in the space already. And getting on their list and becoming an entity there, maybe becoming a teammate. Maybe suggesting within an RFI resources sought that there should be certain certifications in this certain process. And therefore kind of molding some of the requirement to your advantage. This was a big thing when CMMI came out. CMMI level 3 or higher was often recommended because a lot of those guys were CMMI level 3 or higher. So it's, you know, it's your basic business development process. It's not going to get you the contract, it's going to make you a lot more competitive. Because at the end of the day, we are guided by FAR. There has to be competition. If there's not competition, it's a sole source in A and C, or some other tool that is for FAR or DFAR. If it's no competition and pulling over, there's problems. Yes, Richard.
I just had a couple of comments to kind of follow up on the professional relationships. So you use those professional relationships to get more information and to help craft your solution for your what you're going to provide as far as the response. But I'm seeing more and more where the proposal submission, they want redacted copies. So they don't get challenge your company getting a version. They'll send in a redacted copy plus your other copy. And redacted copies, those are really nice. More agencies their own. Gather that information.
here afterwards.
And that's all I have, guys. I appreciate Jeff and Luke to the utmost. Those guys are the rock stars. Really appreciate their insight. This makes sense.
I'm gonna add one thing before you guys leave.
No, I'm sorry.
How many people in the room are flying to fly or hours that I want to see faces so I can know? And we'll do this again. Come on, just say hi. Some of you guys already know. If I don't know you, know your face, come say hi. And we'll one you follow too. That was one of the things we'll talk about after this.
Just want to let everybody know, we usually have a little networking thing at Dave's Beer Company. You're welcome to come across the parking lot.
He buys the first round. There you go. That got him excited.
Not mandatory, it's optional, that will fun and network with everybody.
For the real network, everybody online is over beer.
As it should.
Sir, I heard you were a veteran?
I am Navy.
Awesome. We are starting a new veterans nonprofit. If you wouldn't mind checking this out, you might be able to support or push this out to other people that might want to help out support.
Certainly, absolutely. Thank you.
Josh, by the way, sorry.
Bill.
Bill, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.